All right, I believe we are live. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the Grhastha Perspective. My name is Anuradha Dasi, and I'm very happy to be here with two really amazing couples, one of which I actually know personally. They've seen me since I was a teenager. And one that I'm very honored to have on, who I had the opportunity to host when Shyamarupa Prabhu was speaking on Bhakti Zoom. And I had the opportunity also to hear his lovely wife the following day, I believe it was, you spoke after Shant Maharaj. So I wanted to first introduce these couples. First, we have Vinay Krishna Prabhuji and Kamini Didi from New Jersey. They've been married for 23 years. They have one daughter. Her name is Vishakha. She is actually in college. She's going to be a doctor soon. So she's been busy studying. And then we have Shyamarupa Prabhuji and Shyamali Didi from Boston, I believe, and they've been married for 8 years. So as I mentioned, I don't know them personally, but I'm very excited to have them on and to hear more from them. So I'm going to hear you guys next to each other. Okay, so I wanted first for all of you to just kind of share about how each of you met each other. I know that your stories are very unique, so I would love to hear just like a very brief introduction, how you both met each other.
Okay, I think I will go first because we have 23 years of marriage.
Sure, yeah.
Krishna, first of all, I offer my humble obeisances to the lotus feet of Parampara Gurudev Vishnu Pada Stotha Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Nayan Goswami Maharaj, and to all the devotees who is hearing, who is streaming here, all Yatha Yoga Pranam. Thank you, Anuradha Didi, for having us. So for how we met is a little bit like it's now say so many years back. I was here in 87. I came to 97. Sorry, 97. I came to US, and by fortunate Gurudev's kripa, in 2 months I met with Srila Gurudev. So I came in May 97, and in June, Srila Gurudev's second tour to US, he was in Houston, and Sri Vishnu Prabhu Das. We were neighbors. So I was coming out from the market, and I saw one person, same person, coming out of the car of Vishnu Prabhu, and I paid my dandvat and say, okay, he said he just came to Vishnu Prabhu's home. So that was I think the spiritual life began because I met with Srila Gurudev. And so I started going with Vishnu Prabhu's in Kirtan. At that moment, I just pay my obeisances as I went to his home, Vishnu Prabhu. But I started going to his program, weekly program, which Vishnu Prabhu and all the people in Houston do a weekly satsang program. 98, I said, okay, I was in the thing of searching girl or saying my parents, I need to get married. So
I was a big trouble for him. That's why he needed a wife.
It was a big trouble. This was not the real reason, but yes. So 98, I was saying, okay, we have to get married. 99, we got married in 99. But 98, how we met is all my parents.
I think I'm going to give the background story. So I am from Raipur in India, and his uncle's family lives in Raipur. So one of his uncle's friend used to come to my home, when you believe in Vedic bhakti, time to time, Indian families, they invite Brahmins to home. So his uncle's friend was Brahmin, and he used to work in front of my dad's business, actually. So my papa knew him very well, his uncle's friend. He used to come to our home. So he had seen me a couple of times. So when his uncle said, I'm looking for a nice match for my nephew, he said that I know one very good girl. maybe you should try talking to her dad and see if they are interested in getting her married. I know she's young, but are they really looking to get her married? So then his uncle approached my father and they both started talking. And that's when like my father invited his family, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, to come and meet all of us.
Yeah. So I'd like just to cut it short, like 1998, we got engaged. Like when I was here in US, so I went there during the Kartik month. We saw each other in an hour. We didn't get an hour also.
I think 15
minutes. We talk each other.
Oh, wow.
2 days after that, I said, yes, we want to get married. We got engaged after 2 days. 2 days
October of
October 1998, we got married. I came back to US. Lived here for 3 more months. In January 22nd, January 1999, we got married. So that's how the arrangement was happened. And so it was all Gurudev's mercy. We've been married from there.
Wow.
So that's our introduction.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's very unique.
I know.
It's like true arranged marriage right
True
there.
arranged marriage, yes.
When Krishna arranges, it becomes true arrangement.
Yes,
absolutely. Okay, Shyamali, Didi, and Shyamarupa, please, love to hear your story.
Hare Krishna. So again, like Prabhu, before I begin, I just want to offer my humble obeisances unto my beloved spiritual master and unto Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, who I accept as a Shiksha Guru, and also to the assembled devotees. And thank you, Anuradha, for inviting us on. Our path was maybe not so traditional. We, of course, met in 2007. Actually 2008, in the May of 2008. The year prior to that, I was actually a temple resident, had been a temple resident up to a number of years, and recently had moved outside the temple. And a close friend of ISKCON temple here in Boston, and a close friend of ours, who's also a local healer. He has a beautiful healing space center in Concord, West Concord, Massachusetts, and he was having a Swami, Srila Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Swami, come speak. And this is, I've known Prabhu for many years. I was also, other Gurudev disciples were in the area, and they all had a very good relationship with the local temple. So we went to go, I got there a little bit early. I was sitting out front because nobody had shown up yet. And Shyamali, who I'd not met before, came over and we introduced ourselves and we took part in the program, and we were part of that Sangha for many years. And eventually, even though I was in my 40s, late 40s at the time, I decided it would be good to be married. We did not necessarily have an arranged marriage, obviously. We had met outside of any kind of family context, but we did research the astrological part. And I know that question may come up later. And really just to see if it was compatible, it was going to be a good idea for us. You know,
we were a terrible match astrologically.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. Well, not terrible, but there was something.
Pretty bad.
There were some indications of things we need to look out for. But we decided that, since we're devotees, Krishna consciousness, spiritual life, is something that transcends the karma, which astrology speaks to. That you can overcome any obstacle with Krishna consciousness. So I had the blessings of my spiritual master. We had the blessings of our families and the community. And so in 2008.
I'd like to put a little backspin on this as well.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I don't think that it's random that anybody meets at any particular time. I think that it's very much past life. And I think that when Shyamarupa and I met, we recognized each other. And in terms of looking into past lives, we've had many lives together. So it wasn't arbitrary that we met at that time. I did not have the name Shyamali at that time, but that program began my journey to meet Narayan Maharaj, who became my guru. So, and when I met Narayan Maharaj in 2010, he gave me my name, Shyamali. So I know that Narayan Maharaj wanted us to be together because we were both at that program. We were not together. We were not, we were friends, very deep friends. But I can tell, we were at New Braj. And I can tell when Shyamarupa came, I was, over by the kitchen where they have that place where you can talk. And we were talking with Parampara, and we were talking about some really beautiful, deep katha. And I thought, oh, Shyamarupa should really hear this. And I remember running to go see him. But I wasn't running like a normal run. It was like running like the wind. And I remember thinking, wow, this is odd. Why am I running like this? So I really felt like Gurudev's mercy came into it. And also, I met a really beautiful devotee who is also a Sikh, Raghubir, who lives in Vancouver. And I actually have studied Kundalini Yoga and very much into the Sikh path before I came to Gurudev. And I'm a teacher in the Kundalini lineage. And I was a little like, how am I going to make this crossover to Narayan Maharaj? So I was very in deep conversations with Raghubir, who really was instrumental in me taking initiation from Gurudev. But we were, Shyamarupa and I were palling around, and Raghubir took to me like I was his sister. He really, really was so kind and so loving and so sweet. And he was just like, I feel like you are my sister from the same womb. That's what he said to me. And when Shyamarupa and I were, talking with Raghubir said in a very wise way, he said to Shyamarupa, what are your intentions to my sister?
Big brother, got to deal with the big brother, right?
Right, absolutely.
So there's always this, it was very guided, that we would come together. But I also felt like, I had done a lot of my own work before came into relationship, because a marriage is so purifying. It's always going to bring up your stuff, and you are, even though you're on the same spiritual path, how you do things can be very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both for sharing. It's a very also unique experience, to sort of be in the same sangha, to be in the same circle, and then to sort of find each other, even in the midst of so many. And yes, absolutely divinely arranged as well. Srila Gurudev definitely had his hand in your marriage as well. I think what you mentioned at the very end is also very interesting too, that all of our stuff comes up in marriage. I'm not married. I hope to be one day, but I think when your stuff comes up, like when we are saying and aspiring for this Trinadapi Sunichena, so be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, give respect for all, not expecting any respect for yourself. But how do you actually put that into practice? Like if you're living as a yogi in the forest, like you can't actually put that into practice, right? I mean, unless you're with the elements, maybe with like animals that might be bothering you, bugs, all of those things. But with an actual human being, to put that into practice, you need to have some relationship. There has to be some sambandha. So I think that marriage is a really defining ashram. Grhastha ashram is very defining in that way, that we're able to put those things into practice. So I wanted to actually go into some of the questions here regarding not just arranged marriage, because that comes with your experience, Vinay Prabhu and Krishna Kamini Didi, but also, love marriages, and then in relation to how those dynamics work, what works better. And then do you both support having some type of Vedic compatibility chart done, even though it might be a bad match on paper, but Krishna consciousness supersedes everything. So naturally you can make those things work. So I want to just hear from both of you, Vinay, Prabhu, and Krishna Kamini Didi, maybe you both can share first in terms of, do you support love marriages, or do you have, maybe in your experience, because you've had an arranged marriage, you have a bias towards arranged marriages as being the thing that, as traditional role as it works, it's sort of the thing that's going to continue a marriage for long term, as opposed to divorce rates going super high, which may be as a result of love marriages. I don't know. And then also about Vedic astrology as well.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So what I will say, that I think both is, you cannot just say that, okay, one is better than the other. I think they both has pros and cons. In the sense, I will say a combination of two is better. I will, like, if you have, in my case, the thing is, it went with the arranged marriage because I came to US and I was looking for marriage, and definitely I was looking for a Indian girl, and it was like I was not able to find here, and that's why more of the thing I was inclined for the arranged marriage. But I will say that like nowadays, if I think about it, you can have love marriage or you have a love before the marriage, and if there is a parental consent, like you work with your parents also with all the blessing. Here I would say in our case, parents was definitely our parents, as well as our spiritual parent, our Gurudev was there. Like when I got married, I was already in bhakti with as I said, I met with Gurudev before our marriage, and I was very open to when I see Krishna Kamini. When I went, I said, okay, I'm already in bhakti, and this is my spiritual beliefs. I have my spiritual master, and these are the things which I don't do it like as our Gurudev has given the instructions, like a religious practice I do, no meat eating, nothing like gambling and other things. So they were knowing that, okay, yeah, like if you say that this type of girl, like a boy is not easy to find, like with this, all those things like in India, like says, so they were happy that, okay, yeah, he's Krishna conscious, and it's will be our arranged marriage happened, that all I will say is Gurudev's mercy was there, that I found, like they found me and I found her as a partner, and it's just a couple of moments we decided, yes, I think we could be a good partner. As you say, that should we use the what do you say?
I think I have some input for love versus arranged marriage.
Yeah.
So it was like a general practice back then that people will have more arranged marriages, especially in India. Even when I talk to some of my colleagues here, they also say that back then in US also, if you go back 40, 50 years, arranged marriages were like a thing which was practiced here too. But with today's dynamics, just arranged might not be a very feasible option.
Yeah.
But if you combine the two things, let's say if it's a love marriage, prospective bride and groom or prospective couples are seeing each other, getting parental consent and their guidance could be very helpful, because your parents have seen world way more than you, and they may be able to guide you on making right or wrong or good or bad decisions actually. So, and even if it's arranged marriages that parents knows the family or prospective girl or a boy, and they are arranging, I think with today's dynamics, kids should be given an opportunity to kind of spend a little bit of time talking to each other, knowing each other. That way they can find if they are compatible with each other, and they can work their marriage for a long time or for this life the way we like get married, because we do not get married for 2, 4, 5 years. When we're getting married, we have an intention to make it work for the life.
And as we say, like in our bhakti also, we, as you were saying also, this is like here is the karma bhumi, like in the sense we are doing tapasya or the austerity in this world. any relationship, when we talk about spiritual also, we have to have sambandh abhidhyaya prayojan. We have to have a relationship. We have to have a process and also the goal. In marriage and in the material piece or in the marriage, I will say we have to establish a relationship. Okay, sambandh they need to be there. Process is to that you have to have a mind that yes, I will work it out. Like this is my bonding. I have to work with my spouse. And the goal is to do that, saying that we should do both together Krishna Bhakti. That's our goal is, and that's what our Gurudev also give us. So that should be our back of our mind, saying that now we are in bondage. We have to make sure we get through it. Like everyone has some like not everyone is perfect. So I cannot say have everything perfect, but we have to live with the weakness, or we have to support each other so that we can have the marriage together to have a goal of doing Krishna Bhakti. That's what I will say, both of the world.
And when it comes to like Vedic charts,
Yeah.
again, I mean, I won't say that we don't believe in that. We do believe in those, but they can be of some guidance. Like they can tell you something about your good or bad times, about your compatibility, but they cannot define success of a marriage. Marriage requires efforts from both partners and a determination, I would say, commitment towards making it work. So yes, Vedic charts can guide you, but they cannot be all in all to say that, okay, if your charts are a good match, you will make a perfect couple and you will never fight. It will work for the life.
Yeah, like
Right.
yeah, this is 36 gun, like in the Hindi.
36 guns are
36
there. Yeah.
there are 36 gun, and they say that okay, how many guna they are matching like with the couple is if it's 36 altogether means yeah, you're a very good match. But the people after 36 gun also they do the divorce if they don't work on their marriages.
Yeah, I mean, it was matched in our case also, but it's like, again, there is no certainty that this guarantees your marriage will work or not.
Right, right. Thank you. That's a very thorough answer. So Shyamarupa Prabhu and Shyamali Didi, what are your thoughts on this?
Hare Krishna. So I think I've heard everything that Prabhu and Mataji were saying, and yes, I would say, I think what is the intention of marriage? I think Prabhu was talking about the prayojan, like what is the purpose of marriage? And simply to have a family and raise children, to be healthy, productive contributors to societies is one goal, and the other goal could just be a couple to support each other in Krishna consciousness. And I think we talk about arranged marriage, sometimes people kind of think it's either or, love marriage or arranged. And arranged marriage, in a very strict sense, is the couple would never meet until their wedding day. Sometimes it happens like that. Love marriage, and sometimes what I hear, what I've seen with arranged marriages with friends of mine who've been married, is they have a chance to meet, the couple gets a chance to meet each other, get to know each other a little bit, and get a sense, am I going to be okay with this person?
Right.
So it's not so much one extreme or the other, but with arranged marriages, you have the support of the family, and you have people who are objective going into it. Because sometimes and with love marriage, it could be out of passion. In our case, I think because we're a little bit older and we kind of understand that, we're both very committed to our spiritual practice, that our first concern was, how will this affect our spiritual practice, our spiritual lives? Will it enhance it? Will we support each other and grow in it? Or is it something that's going to detract from it? So we kind of were approaching it with that viewpoint, where even though it was a love marriage in the sense that we got to know each other as friends and got to know, and there was no sort of family intermediary with it, I think because if you have that goal, regardless of whether it's an arranged marriage or whether it's a love marriage, what's your intention? And I think part of our looking at the chart, and it's like if you're going to go hiking for the day, you're going to look at the weather. Am I going to need rain gear? Am I, what am I going to, So with going into a marriage, I think behooves to avail yourself of the wisdom of the Vedic tradition, have an astrologer look at your charts and just point out, okay, these may be the trouble points. It doesn't mean that you can't have a marriage. It says, okay, these are going to be difficulties you're going to probably come across. And if you know that going into it, then you can deal with it more effectively. So I think I definitely, regardless of whether it's arranged or not, I think couples, I always say, have an astrologer look at your chart. Read your palm, look at your chart, really look at it from a somewhat not objective, not to sort of be unromantic, but really look at it, because it's a lifelong commitment. You're going to be partnered with this person, for a long time to come, and you're going to have to make sure that you're going to go into it in a way that is beneficial. So I definitely, and if you're born into a nice Indian family, and that's part of your culture, is to have an arranged marriage. And I know young people who were born into Indian families who grew up in the West decided to go with a love marriage rather than, and I just say, if your family is a good family, they're Krishna-conscious, they're very supportive, and they're going about it with the right consciousness, why not avail yourself to that? And I see in many cases where arranged marriages, where the couple got to meet ahead of time, make sure, that they wound up being very happy, productive marriages, and both the husband and wife grew in Krishna consciousness. So that's a little bit of my perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, may I? Is there room for me?
Absolutely, yeah, please.
I mean, we really were very, very close friends, and committed to Krishna consciousness before we came together as a couple. For me, it was a little hard to make the transition from being friends to a different form of relationship. It was just a little bit of a shock, when it was proposed. It was like, I didn't know if I could make that leap. And I think that, I've been asked by people, what's it like to choose someone from an egoic point of view versus from an arranged marriage. And I've seen arranged marriages that were not happy and arranged marriages that were happy. I mean, I think that their success rate is about the same, frankly. Mm-hmm. It takes the commitment of the two people in the relationship to be respectful, kind, work on your stuff, recognize the other person is different, and know when your ego's up and you're a little bit triggered by something that they've done, that you're not going to respond that way. It's an incredible, it's challenging to be in relationship, but when you have Krishna in the center, which is the way that a relationship will really work, no matter what form it comes in, how it initially comes to you, then you have real chance for it to work. Because I did the Vedic, I did the Western astrology, and it was like crazy, not really compatible, volatile. It looked volatile, right? Mm-hmm. And then when we did our Vedic, we had a woman who did our Vedic, who was a beautiful devotee at the ISKCON temple. And it was absolutely comical, because she wouldn't even tell us what was in Shyamarupa's chart, and she was like looking like this at it, and she was saying to us, "Oh, you're so lucky." She was saying to him, "She was so lucky to have me, so lucky to have me," and I was just like laughing.
Oh, it was hysterical.
And she was saying, "Well, you have such a good attitude, Prabhu," and really that's the key. He does. He's really positive mind. He's so forgiving. He's so loving, and he's very humble. And if you really want to have a successful marriage, be humble, be loving, be kind.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I speaking from being single, I think but still we have relationships, right? I have relationship with my parents, with friends, with, in spiritual life, with my spiritual aunts and uncles and god sisters, god brothers. And that's exactly right. In order to make something work, you actually have to put in the work. You have to be brave and courageous and actually put in the time. And then, yeah, especially how do we interact, is that using that humility, using the loving kindness, that compassion, the empathy, all of those things which are kind of intertwined and which bhakti highlights so beautifully. You know, if we're really putting into practice these Krishna conscious, not just methods, but just Krishna consciousness in general, then we can become, you know, really beautiful inside and out. And then that goes into those relationships as well. So I really appreciate, you know, what all of you have shared in terms of keeping Krishna in the center, working hard, and how we can work. So I want to go into, and you both kind of touched on this a little bit, but sort of the roles that each of you play, the role of a wife, the role of a husband. And I would love to know, maybe the wives can answer first in terms of what is the role of a husband, and then the husbands can answer what is the role of a wife. You don't necessarily have to tell me whether or not your husband or your wife meets that, you know, standard. But I would just love to hear, what is an ideal wife? What is an ideal husband? And then also how each of you nourish each other within that marriage bond, how you both nourish each other in order to not just stay married, but, you know, to sort of keep each other going even in Krishna consciousness. So since we started with Vinay Prabhu last time, we'll start with Shyamarupa Prabhu and Shyamali Didi.
So I don't think it's a good idea to have any kind of preconceived notion about how anybody should be. You're going to get into trouble if you do that. And we have some scars about what the perfect person is, what a perfect husband is, what a perfect wife is. You see how the person shows up, how you need to nourish them to foster, you know, like if you're fostering a child or an animal or anything, you look at its nature and you work with that. And, you know, for instance, Prabhu is actually very domestic. He loves to cook. He loves to clean. He loves to get busy in the kitchen first thing in the morning, bang pots around, make the tea, you know. And this was something I like to do, right? And I was like, what am I going to do? So I gave him the space that he needed. You know, in the beginning, he would make, I like chai in the morning, right? I have an herbal chai that I like. In the beginning, he started making all these like coconut chai, this chai, chocolate chai, or whatever. I'm like, I just want my chai, you know, just leave my chai alone, you know. And it's like you have to negotiate those kinds of things, which are funny, but actually I really appreciate how domestic he is, and that he, you know, everybody's on a spectrum, you know. We all are male and female combined. And you have to understand how that is. And you also want to make space for the husband to be vulnerable and to be able to share with you and feel, you know, but also be strong and protect you when something goes wrong or somebody's not there for you. But it's a negotiation in terms of learning where your person is on, what spectrum are they on in terms of how they function. And, you know, you make space and support how to best nurture that particular person.
Beautiful. So Krishna, Kamini, Didi, if you could share.
So absolutely, I agree with Didi that we should not have a preconceived notion about how wives or husbands' role should be in the marriage. I think those activities or chores or any of these things should not be defined based on the gender either. Like, you know, in traditional settings in India, it was conceived that if it is a wife, she would be taking care of home and children and cooking and cleaning, and husband would go out and work, make money for the household. In today's world, we see like both partners equally contribute toward earning for the family, for the livelihood. So both can be equally responsible for doing things or activities around the home. And whoever is better at doing whatever activity can take care of those chores. It doesn't have to be a predefined thing. Like in my household, I like to cook actually. And Gurudev actually blessed me that, oh, you should make very nice prasadam for Krishna and always offer him nice bhogas.
Because Gurudev knows that if I cook, no one can eat.
No, but one good thing will happen. Even if we cook, one good thing will happen for sure. We will both lose weight, which should happen. So I take care of cooking at home, but like general thing also that males are a bit stronger than females physically. He takes care of all the heavy lifting. If it's vacuuming the home, I never touch a vacuum. It's him taking care of vacuuming and cleaning my house. Or if it's a snow day, I have a big driveway to clean. He takes care of cleaning it all. So I think whichever way you can maintain a balance, it should be divided accordingly. And best thing you can do to support each other is make your partner feel that whether it be a good time or bad time, I'm there to support you. You should be able to build that trust and faith within your partner.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Shyamarupa Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. So yeah, beautiful. But both of you have offered, and I think the idea of having a very limited, prescribed preconception of what the partner should be. This is what the wife is. Again, everybody is unique in terms of their energy and their qualifications, and so to go into with that type of preconceived notion, you're going to be disappointed, or it's not, or you're going to learn to kind of approach people as they are. And and as a partner, of course, and again, as Mataji was saying, it's really about the support and trust. If I fall, are you going to catch me? And I think that sort of selfless nature, that's I think one of the strengths of married life. You learn selflessness, you learn sacrifice, you learn duty. All these things that we read about and humility. You definitely learn humility is the way to keep things right. And as a man in a marriage, I find that the female perspective, that's to me, it's not so much a preconceived expectation of what they'll be doing and what your role is, but as a man, having a woman's perspective on life, on your, on everything, is extremely valuable because it's a lens that you get. And I think especially in marriage it becomes, because I grew up in a family, I was the youngest of 4 children, and everyone else I have 3 older sisters.
Very strong women.
Very strong. So basically I had 4 mothers growing up. So you get, so I grew up with some perspective and understanding of the female psyche and how but still in marriage it becomes very much acute. So I think for any man, being in marriage with a woman offers them that glimpse, and I think we always use the term better half, and it really is. I think women do have a perspective that's more humane. And we talk about the soft-heartedness of women, and it's true. It's men. We tend to be very linear and kind of objectifying, and maybe a little bit aggressive in our approach to things. And women offer a perspective that I think is a much more important balance for us to have in order for us to become better human beings and to become better devotees. So that's kind of how I would answer that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Vinay Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. So I think everyone has summarized like everything, like whatever they have said is the correct way of how there should not be preconceptions of that this is the role of husband or a wife, as everyone, Prabhuji and Mataji and Kamini has said. We have to support, like the marriage is like how much we support each other in every way. Like in the sense, as I said, I cannot able to cook, but I try to help in other way. whatever is I can do, I help her. It's not that, okay, this is defined, she cannot do it, or I have, like, this is not my task. Sometimes you have to balance how the thing is. And this is all come up when you have a relationship, when you have bondage, you have a good bondage, understanding each other, saying that this is the time she is busy, okay, let me do something more for her, or he cannot able to do it, or she is cannot able to do it, let me do it for her. It's not that this is your task, you will do it, otherwise, like, there will be some. So there should be in the relationship, as we were discussing, flexibility should be there, understanding, humility, as Prabhuji has also and Mataji has said. So this is all base of when we grow our relationship and have good understanding, so how to support each other. That's what I will say. Like, that is the good part from, like, our marriage. And there is always an ups and downs, and we have to learn how to hear what other perspective is. Like, the thing is, in one of the thing in marriages, we should talk to each other. Like, if something is, because I cannot read her mind, she cannot read my mind, something is going on, just let it out, like, just work it out, saying that, okay, what is, because sometimes, like, as I say, as a man, we don't even think about, like, the other person is, like, wife is what she's annoyed of. Like, what has happened. So just talk through that thing, that what happened, like, why are you in that mood, or what I have said, like, so it's like a good thing, or a good practice to talk it out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, good part is, for our, there are sometimes where we get annoyed of each other, but we talk and we resolve it. We don't expand that thing for days or something, like anything disagreement or our conflict, we try to resolve that day or something, like very short time. We don't drag it, that it make it a bigger thing. So that's what I will say, the marriages.
Thank you.
Haribol.
Yeah, I really appreciate all of those answers, just not having a preconceived idea about what is ideal husband, what is ideal wife. Sure, we have our ideals, we have our lists, but sometimes, the person that you meet, whom you're meant to be with, doesn't have anything on those lists, maybe one thing, or they have the exact opposite of what you're looking for, but they are what Guru and Krishna has arranged for you, because they're meant to teach you something, you're meant to learn something, they're meant to nourish you in this lifetime with something. So I appreciate all of those answers. Thank you.
Like Radha Didi, you were saying Guru Krishna has something. So before getting married, I did not have a preconceived list of what I want from my husband. I had only two things on my list: non-meat eater, non-alcohol consumer. So when you make it small, sweet, easy, simple, Krishna gives you a lot more.
Thank you. It's true. It's better not to probably have those large list of expectations, because as the years start to go on, you start to cross off things, and then you just want them to just be alive and breathing. I
think it's a little more than alive and breathing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's more than that. So in your marriages, what bhakti activities do you do together? And then are there any things that you do apart from each other? And anyone can really start here.
Prabhuji, okay, let me say. So, like, what we does together is, as much as possible, definitely we do aarti and try to do the aartis together. Morning or evening aarti we try to do, like, as per, like, before going to office, we try to get together to the aarti, or like evening aarti definitely, yes. Some, like, we, as you know, that conference call, evening conference calls, we get together, sit together, and like hear and do chanting also together. Reading sometimes we do by ourselves, or separately we can do that. But that's our motive, is like, as we say, Gurudev, or the bhajan, Krishna sansar karo, chhadiya anachar. Other things we try to leave it, but Krishna sansar, like, do everything and have Krishna as a center. That's our goal is. And that's what we try to help each other. That's what it is. In if I'm weak, then she will support, or if she's weak, I support her. That's what our thought process is.
Yeah, like he said, we sometimes read separately, and he does better job than me on doing those, hearing Gurudev's lecture or reading through lectures. He does more often. So when I'm not sure of anything, or when I have questions, I approach him, or when we together talk to any of the senior devotees about those questions. So that's how we try to go and help each other. And we always like try to motivate each other to chant as much as more possible.
Yeah. Just speaking with you both, I've just noticed just in your dynamic that sometimes if one of you, like if you're on the conference or in any programs, then if one of you may forget something or maybe forget a part of a verse, then immediately you'll hear the voice. Like usually I'll hear Kamini, Didi, her voice will chime in, she'll fill in the rest of the verse.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a beautiful dynamic that it's nice when we get to do those things together. So Shyamali, Didi, and Shyamarupa, Prabhu, what activities do you do either together or separately?
Well, we do a lot together. With cooking, Shyamali is an excellent, I'm an okay cook. She's a chef. So I'm good with the cut up. When we do a khichdi, I'll do the rice, beans, that, and then Shyamali will do the tarka and the spicy, the delicious part.
Yeah.
And that's kind of our dynamic. I'm kind of like, I'm a good worker. But we do so much together. We go to programs together. We do a Sunday Bhagavatam study group with a small group of us here. So sometimes, when we're traveling, we'll listen to Bhagavatam together, or we'll do a lot of reading together out loud. We'll go and just we'll each take turns reading out loud to the other person, but sometimes we'll study. We'll just kind of break away and with our notepads and preparation for the class. But there's a lot that we do together in spiritual life. We do the evening, we do the artik, we do it together. I'll do the puja and she'll have the kirtan going. So in a lot of ways, it's like a kind of a yin-yang kind of engagement we have.
You also have to just give a lot of space for someone to also do it their own way. I teach Kundalini Yoga, and I have been teaching a course where I've been introducing bhakti and teaching people, early morning practice and that kind of thing. So, and Prabhu will support me in that, but also it's also my course, so he may not want to participate fully, so you just really have to allow him to do what he wants, when he wants. And I think that you never want to force anybody into their practice, You have to make a wide berth for them to do it the way they do it, because you really don't know even though you're side by side, you still are independent in your relationship to Krishna, and you have a very unique relationship. And although Vaidhi Bhakti and the rules and regulations keep us in proximity, we're still looking for that Rupanuga, and we're still looking to, foster our relationship to Guru. So it's still individual. And so I think even though we come together a lot, what we're really doing is fostering each other to grow in Krishna consciousness. And that is, there can be, you grow in different ways. So you just have to, again, just allow that to be fostered.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, it's true. You're, other than, sure, we identify as being, Mr. and Mrs., but at the same time, in Krishna consciousness, we do have that individual relationship. And it's helpful to be able to encourage, nourish, but at the same time, like you're saying, give that space. I remember, I think, even hearing from Kishore Mohan Prabhu and Sudevi Didi that even when it comes to like japa, like chanting your rounds, that you should encourage but not force your partner. Like that, oh, you have to chant 1 lakh, I'm chanting 1 lakh. Like, it should be where the encouragement is there that the other person, starts to chant as much, like what you were saying earlier, Krishna Kamini Didi, that try to encourage each other as much as possible to chant as much as you can, because ultimately that individual relationship stands, as being superior. And it's at the end of your lives, that's what's left. You're not going to go together. You're just going to go by yourselves. So I'm curious, has Srila Gurudev given either of you any instructions regarding your marriages? And if you could please share that. Maybe Vinay, Prabhu, and Krishna Kamini Didi can share first.
I was fortunate that I was able to get Srila Gurudev's darshan like just a few months after we got married. We were married in January and came to US here in February. And the same year, actually, I got opportunity of seeing Gurudev in May. And that's when Gurudev accepted me as his disciple also in Houston. So Gurudev, when he was initiating me after giving me my initiation, Gurudev actually personally, like I was telling before also, that I don't know if he heard from Vinay Prabhu or Vishnu Prabhu and Arti Didi, but Gurudev kind of knew that I have a special passion towards cooking. So Gurudev instructed me to make very nice prasadam and serve Radharani and Krishna with best possible prasadam and then feed him also. And I remember special instruction Gurudev gave him, don't trouble my daughter. And told me, if he troubles you, you call me. I'm going to take care of him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Gurudev
wonderful.
always have he loves her daughters, all the daughters. Every time.
So much, because we all try to connect to Gurudev as much as we can via phone. Of course, personal darshans are there. So when I'm personally meeting, definitely Gurudev is showering his blessings and mercy. But even when I spoke to Gurudev anytime, he always asked me first, Kaisi ho beti tum? How are you, my dear daughter? How is your health? Because I was like very small sized. You've seen Vishakha. So I was like 78 pounds when I got married, really tiny. So Gurudev is like, do you drink milk or not? Do you take care of yourself not? Whether your husband troubles you at all? He would ask all those questions like a father would.
Wow.
So
Yeah, Srila Gurudev is so
so
caring,
merciful,
so
very
affectionate.
caring. Oh my.
Yeah.
And you can imagine his love because he's equally affectionate to all his children, not to one daughter or one son.
Yeah.
Especially of Shri Gurudev is if you go to him and see him, you feel that you are the closest to him. Like in the sense, you are the only son or you are the only daughter to him.
Yeah.
But he has so much love to distribute that it is like beyond, like you can
It's
think
limitless,
about. And
really,
limitless, like he
yeah.
is like that. And same thing for me is Gurudev. I had a lot of opportunity to serve him. And he always says that, yeah, you should focus on your bhakti, and he always instructed. I got a lot of opportunity to do his personal seva, like massaging his feet, and and every time whenever we had as much as possible, we used to be with Srila Gurudev, like in when Srila Gurudev was coming to Houston or to Badger or wherever the place he is traveling. So always his instruction was, are you doing bhajan properly or not, and do your bhajan properly. He always guide us in that. So his mercy is a lot, and we really thankful. We are very fortunate to have Srila Gurudev as our Gurudev. So very blessed to have him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So Shyamali Didi and Shyamarupa Prabhu, any
Well,
personal?
I met Gurudev in the last year of his life, so I can't say that I had very much one-on-one time with him. I did spend a week in Badger with him, but he's there every moment, at every step, every second. There's never a moment where I don't feel supported by him. And I can say that I had a very unique experience. I'll show you. I broke my wrist, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it's like 2 weeks. And I just was experiencing so much emotion coming up, like this just crazy emotion that I haven't felt ever before. Like, how do I process this? So yesterday I was just overwhelmed with it. So I was standing in front of the deities, in front of the gurus, and I was just like, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what to do with this. And then spontaneously my phone started Govinda Damo Daramadaveti, and Gurudev's voice was speaking, and I was so supported in that moment, and my emotion just anytime I just felt like it was lifted, like that crazy not knowing what to do, feeling like it was taking me away from my bhajan was just gone.
Wow. It's beautiful. Thank you. Shamaru Prabhu, anything from you or?
Well, again, my experience with Gurudev has been very limited. I first met him in Houston in 2009, was there in Badger in 2010, and then right after the Badger program, before he went off to his next destination, he spent a few days in Ojai at Krishna Kamini and Brajesh's place. And that was a more intimate setting. And I had, a one-on-one, it's a small darshan. He would go for his morning walk, which was limited at that time. He couldn't walk as much. He was already slowing up, physically. But had a very, very powerful darshan with him, But this was before the perspective of marriage came up. But, oftentimes the way the Guru speaks to us, it's the one-on-one interaction or letters that you may receive and that kind of thing. But, if you may have a dream of Gurudev, or oftentimes if the community of devotees are expressing something to you, it's like from it's like from Gurudev through them. Like that story where Srila Prabhupada would have dreams that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted him to take sannyas, and he'd wake up feeling mortified, like, oh my gosh, But then Param Gurudev, Srila Keshav, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, would iterate the same thing to him. So
Yeah.
I think with Gurudev, I think the advice and support we get from the community of devotees, I see as Gurudev's blessing. And the instructions we get from Nimai Chaitanya and Kumu, the community of devotees that we're involved with, is, I think Gurudev supports us. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all so much for sharing that. I wanted to just close with a final question regarding conflict and divorce. Srila Gurudev was vehemently against divorce. And within even Vedic tradition, there's no such thing as, in Hindi, there's no actual word for divorce. I think it's Urdu, right? It's an Urdu word. So it's in Shuddha Hindi, which Srila Gurudev would speak in pure Hindi. There's no such word for divorce. So my question for conflict is that how do you engage in conflict, which is, I guess, positive? It doesn't boil over into then now you're starting to have thoughts of divorce. You're starting to really question your marriage. And then also sort of a secondary question about how, if you do correct your spouse, how to do that. And then we'll close for today. So so Shamaru Prabhu and Shyamali Didi, if you could share first.
Okay. Well, I think like what Shyamali had mentioned earlier, which is, and Prabhu I think also mentioned, when there's conflict, oftentimes there's two parties involved. What's your role? What's your role in it? And what's triggering you, and why is it triggering you? Because when people get upset, it usually has to do something with your own ego. And, and okay, so why am I responding this way? Why am I feeling this way? Is it childhood stuff? Is it expectations I have? Is it my own limitation? And I think if you approach it in a humble way, even though there's a conflict, and you may be feeling some upset, you can grow from it. Because I think it's those points when things get contentious and things get tense, and it comes to that point, it can be, the value in it is that you're learning something. If you try to learn from it and understand that maybe, you're, okay, you may be feeling this way, but what's the lesson to be learned? What consciousness can you bring to it that you can grow from that experience? And it's not easy. Because if you're triggered and there's some contention, but it's sometimes good just to take a step back and breathe into it and look at it from that perspective. It's helpful. So I try, that's the value, because, and if there's no, and there are couples that will never argue, but they don't have a good relationship because there's no communication. And the main thing is that there's communication, and that there's, and a good relationship is that you can be vulnerable with each other to express these things. Whereas, you may have a relationship or a marriage where on the surface it all seems very peaceful, but really there's no relationship. So I think trust, communication, and if it moves you to a better understanding and makes you a better person, then that's, but divorce means there's no room or scope in your consciousness to learn from those experiences. And this is my first marriage, so I can't say, from that, but that's been my experience in this relationship, and that's really what I feel very grateful for, that it's given me the opportunity to grow into it. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
And Shyamali Didi, do you have anything to add?
I guess I think that it's the commitment that you have to, I mean, divorce isn't even an intention. It isn't even something that's a possibility in one sense. But I also think that, we've talked about that we don't really fight. If we fight, I mean, we do have words. We do have differences of opinion, but it never lasts for very long. It's never very serious. It never rocks the foundation of what a good relationship, which is trust, and no behavior that breaks that trust, And that divorce is really usually when the trust has been broken, when the volatility is so high and the fabric of the life is so disturbed by the fighting that it's not easy to stay together, right? And that's not a Krishna-conscious relationship, that's not, and if you're that volatile with each other, and some people are, then you shouldn't be married. You know what I mean? That's my view of that. Because, it does happen, and there are people, it used to be that people stayed in marriages that were really, really, really toxic. I don't think that's healthy. But I also think that once you've committed to Krishna consciousness and you're committed to each other and you've brought Krishna into your relationship, it's very unlikely that you would have such a conflict that would be so disruptive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah,
So,
a friend had a nice analogy once. She said, a husband and wife are like two legs of a table. But if you have two legs on a table, it will flop over. But if you have that third leg, which is Krishna, you have a stability. And I think, she said, always keep Krishna in the center of your marriage and of your life, then you'll always have that stability. Whereas with materialistic marriages, that's where you see divorce, because it's based on desire.
yeah.
And unfulfilled desire is unmet, brings about anger. And like that. So Anyway, I just want to offer that. So thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. So Krishna, Kamini, Didi, and Vinay, Prabhu, please.
So conflict, as I said before, definitely 2%. It's not to be in marriage also, like friends or any relationship, their conflicts comes up. Like in the marriages, what we does, like in the thing is, if in the heated conversation, if I am like speaking a lot, she will keep quiet. If she is like an argument, then I keep quiet for some time because I let it out. Rather than if you both will try to jump in together, then the things become worst. So we had like the thing is, if one is off, the other person should let it be calm. That is the right way at the time, because if you both put fire key on the fire, it will become bigger only. So let it like settle down from the one end, and then we can talk through. And that's what we do is, yes, there are a lot of we have conflicts sometimes, and we talk, and we had some quarrel about between them, but we try to settle down as soon as possible. We don't drag it and say that, okay, but this is what happened and I didn't like it or you don't like it, and then we just resolve that things. Regarding the divorce is, I will say that, see, I think our intention is should be say that when we have a bondage between the two person, the first thing is you should have that faith that the other person is, if there is something is happening, the other person is always thinking good for you. It is not that, oh, he has some malicious thinking about it, like the marriages. And the thing is, whatever she does, or if she's having saying something to me and in some anywhere, her intention is to always saying that to protect me, or to always have betterment for me. It's not like, oh, okay, she want to let me down or something like that. If you have that faith and that like bondage in that marriage, then it will be no question of having that conflict, saying that, okay, you said this to me or you said that to me. Correct? Like that's how the marriages should be. And I don't like, as Gurudev and everyone says, that when you are in Grhastha ashram, I think divorce, when you are married, then you should not be thinking about the divorce at all. Like you need to work it out, saying that what is your differences are, work it out, and like then try to resolve. And if there is something which you cannot work it out, then talk through it. Like what is the best way out, in the sense departing with each other. That's my Gurudev always says, no, this Grihastha ashram, or whichever ashram you are, try to be in that ashram. So yeah.
Thank you.
I think so. Conflicts does not happen just between husband and wife, right? Conflict happens between siblings, sometimes parents and children, sometimes friends and neighbors too. Do we talk about divorcing them? Because we know that is not possible. Here we're talking about divorce because we see that as a possibility. We try to take the easy way out. So I think it requires a lot of effort for sure from both partners. I'm not saying only wife or only husband, but even Gurudev says, like, if your partner is not even a devotee, as long as your partner is not creating an obstacle in your devotional life or in your personal life, is letting you live peacefully or perform your bhajan, you should not really think about divorce. There are some exceptions when this cannot be done feasibly. That is an extreme case, but I think there are ways conflicts can be resolved. Like Vinay Prabhu was saying, give opportunity to your partner to speak out, learn to hear them, give them some space. And my personal perspective, again, just like him, is like, both should not jump at the same time. You may not think that what he or she is saying is correct, but you can stay quiet for the moment. And when that heated moment settles down a little, that's when you can talk to your partner. See, you said this, but I don't agree with this. This is my perspective. When your partner is calmer, he would think and understand your perspective. But when both are angry, neither would listen or understand. So I think giving each other some space, but not like completely not talking to each other for days. That creates a gap. That should not happen either, but give some space, some short time, like hour to maybe a day. After that, you should talk through the differences, try to resolve it. You should think about divorce only when it's not feasible, practically feasible to live, because other person is making life very difficult or not letting you do any bhakti or not supportive of your bhakti.
And you have did all your effort. It's not like that. Again, when we say about when bhakti two-finger shot, you like Gurudev always says, one is your effort and the other is mercy. Okay, if you sometimes in marriages we don't put our full effort, saying that okay, if you say I am doing 100% effort, then if it is not happening, then it's the different thing. But if you're not putting your effort and saying that okay, I want to get way out, that's where it's not correct. Like then the divorce is not the right path.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing that. I agree that I think this sort of easy way out and the mindset that divorce should even be an option, that when you go into a marriage, that shouldn't be at the forethought. That should be something that if it's like your trust is broken, like you said, Shyamali Didi or Krishna Kamini Didi, that you mentioned how there's no other feasible option. You haven't put in your full effort. All of these answers, it really culminates to that one thing that divorce is sort of what we've deemed as like the scapegoat, because we want an avenue out for whatever reason, but it's not the correct one, and it's certainly not something that's based in Krishna consciousness. It's not something that's based in having a fruitful and Krishna conscious marriage. So I'm really grateful to all of you for sharing all of these things. I just wanted to actually just close with just one last question, just more personal. That do you by any chance know your spouse's favorite, either verse or favorite bhajan? Okay, so please. Okay. So I'm gonna let's start with the wives first. You give your answer, and then the husbands will say if that's correct or not, and then the husbands, you will give your answer, and then. Okay, so favorite either verse or bhajan. So Krishna Kamini Didi, if you could share.
His favorite verse is Anarpitam Chiram Chirat Karunyavatarna Kalau Samarpitam Annatwajvalasam Swabhakti Hari Purat Sundar Jiti Kadam Sandipita Sadaya
I've been using this verse for.
You might have heard him say that a lot in conference too.
Yeah, I do recognize it. Okay, okay, so it is correct then. So Shyamali Didi, what is either favorite verse or bhajan?
I'm not sure I'm going to be so great at this, but I'm going to say his favorite bhajan is Jayanilo.
Is that correct?
It's up there. It's definitely up my top ones that it just melts my heart every time I hear it. It's like, because the circumstances in which we sing it are always so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That mood of separation is so sweet and so profound. So when when Gurudev entered Mahasamadhi, I remember there was a public program we went to and I sang it, and it was just like, so I think that was a good call.
Okay, so if you could answer Shyamarupa Prabhu the same question, either favorite verse or bhajan of Didi's.
Well, I know, I could cheat and just say I know that Govinda Damodar Madhavati, because she just mentioned it, so that'd be cheating. So I'll go with verse. And the verse, I think, is her favorite because she always quotes it. Whenever she speaks about Krishna consciousness, it's the Anya Bilashita Srinyam Anu Koyena Krishna Anu Shilanam. she's always quoting this verse. So if it's not, I'd be shocked.
So is that correct?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Good. Okay, and then Vinay Prabhu?
Yeah, I think that is also, I will say, Krishna Kamini Dasi also likes that, like always quote Anya Bhalashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadi Anavritam Anukulin Krishna Anushinam Bhakti Rittama, because Shala Gurudev, as we say in every lecture, he used to mention this, like this is the verse we should remember, we should understand, and this is the definition of Tama Bhakti. So she also quotes that. And also she likes a couple of bhajan. I think one of them, Radha Bhajane Yadi Matini Gela. Yeah. So that is bhajan also she loves. So I think a couple of other bhajans, but these are some of our favorite. Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And that's correct, right, Didi?
Mhm.
Okay. Perfect. That's beautiful. I'm really so grateful to all of you for coming on this program, for sharing so many wonderful lessons that we all can take and really try to implement, not just in married life, but also just in any relationship, because that marriage is just another form of a relationship. So really just amazing things. And I'm looking forward to going back and watching this again, and really having those lessons seep in a little bit more deeply. But I want to offer my pranam to all of you, and I pray that you guys can come on again. And I'm hoping also, I saw you have a parrot. That's a red parrot.
Yeah, I'll bring her up. She's kind of
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
this is our baby,
Beautiful. Yeah. What is her name or his name?
Cheeky.
Cheeky. Very sweet.
And Yashoda Prabhu loves this bird. Every time I'm on the call, he's like, "Where's Cheeky?"
Oh, that's so sweet.
And here's
Wow. Beautiful. So again, I'm so grateful to both of you, or to all of you, I'm sorry, but to both couples, for your time and your patience. And like I said, I'm hoping to have you on again at some point. So thank you again. Vancha kalpatarubhishya
Thank you so much, Anuradha. This is very